Hello everyone, you're welcome to MJ Apparel tutorial. In today's tutorial, you'll be learning how to cut and sew this trendy Bubu Kaftan gown with a built-up neckline, a chest effect, and a side pocket. It is super easy to make, and if you love what you see and want to replicate this for yourself, please watch till the end. And if you're new to this channel, please click on the subscribe button so you'll be notified whenever we post a new tutorial. And also don't forget to like, comment, and also share this video. So first you fold your fabric. You'll be cutting the front and the back of the gown at the same time, and also you'll be cutting each of them on fold. After folding the fabric, the next thing to do is to draw a straight horizontal line which will serve as the shoulder line and which will serve as your starting point for the measurement you will be taking. The next thing to do is to insert your neck width and neck depth. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using a neck width of 3.5 for both the front and the back of the gown. You mark your neck width. After marking the neck width, you come down by 1.5 inch for the neck depth of the back. Sorry, my chalk is not coming out very well because of the colors on the fabric, but all you do at this point is to insert your neck width and the neck depth for the back. After inserting it, you connect the 2 points together using a slight curve like you see me doing at this point. Next, insert the neck depth for the front of the gown. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using 10 inch for the neck depth. After marking the 10 inch for the neck depth, go in by 1 inch at this point. Then you connect back to the neck width using a straight line. After inserting the neckline for the front and the back, the next thing to do is to determine the length of the sleeve for the gown. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using what I have left at this point as the length of the sleeve. First, extend this shoulder line here. Next, you come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. After coming down by 1 inch, connect back to the neck width using a straight line. After drawing the shoulder slope, the next thing to do is to insert the sleeve opening. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using 10 inch for the sleeve opening. So I'm going to be marking the 10 inch at this point, after which I'll connect back to the shoulder line using a straight line. You can use whatever sleeve opening you want because it's a free bubu gown. After inserting the sleeve opening for the gown, the next thing I'll be doing is to insert the full length of the gown. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using a length of 60 inch as the length of the gown. After measuring the 60 inch, I'll mark and draw a straight horizontal line. After drawing the straight horizontal line, the next thing we'll be doing is to insert your body circumference. Because it's a free bubu gown, you'll be using the biggest part of the body, which is the hip, divided by 4 plus your ease and sewing allowance. So the hip measurement I'm working with is 40 divided by 4 is 10 inch. I'll be adding 5 inch as my sewing allowance and the ease allowance. So I'm going to be marking the 15 inch all the way down, after which I'll connect the points together, and I will also be connecting the bodies to my sleeve, after which I will cut it out. So just watch what I'm doing closely and also follow the same process. When cutting the neckline for the gown, the first is to cut the back neckline and to cut the shoulder slope. After cutting the shoulder slope, you separate the front from the back and then you cut the front neckline. When cutting the front neckline, you cut through the 1 inch you went in by, after which you cut down to the neck width of the gown. So basically, this is what the front and the back of the gown neckline is going to look like. Here we have the back of the gown. This is what it looks like. And here we have the front of the gown. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to drag the chest effects for the gown we are making, and in doing that you need to use your pattern paper to do that, to avoid mistake and wastage of your fabric. So here I have this pattern paper on fold, and I'm going to be using it to draft the chest effects, after which I'll transfer it to my main fabric. So first you place your fabric on the pattern paper. After placing the fabric on the pattern paper, you go ahead to trace out the neckline on the fabric on the pattern paper. So when tracing out the neckline, note you will not be cutting directly on this point. You are going to be coming up by 0.75 inch from this point. After marking the point, you draw a straight line this way. You also take note of what we have left here, because we'll be notching it when we are cutting the pattern on our fabric. Next, I'll go ahead to cut off this part of the pattern paper, then we'll move to drafting the chest effects. After cutting it out, the next thing is to determine the length of the chest effect. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using 20 inch for that. I will mark the 20 inch at this point, after which I will draw a straight horizontal line. You can determine how long you want your chest effect to be. The choice is yours to make. So next thing is to open it up. After opening it up, I'm going to be extending the line I have at this point. Next, you are going to be coming in by 4 inch on the shoulder line. So you mark your 4 inch at this point. Then on the length of the chest effect, that is this point here, you'll be coming in by 5 inch from the folded part and mark. After marking, you connect to the shoulder line using a straight line. After drawing the straight line, next we'll move to the other part of the chest effect. So from this part, from the folded part, that is the center of the paper, you go in by 5 inch. Then you mark. After marking the 5 inch, you draw a straight line down to this point like this. Next, you move to the lower part, that is the length of the effect, and you also come in by 5 inch. After marking the 5 inch, you connect to this point using a straight line. So this is what the chest effect is going to look like. Next, I'm going to cut it out and use this pattern to cut my fabric. This is what it's going to look like when placed on the fabric. So next, I'm going to go ahead to use it to cut my fabric, and I'll show you the next step. So after cutting the fabric using the pattern, this is what it's going to look like. So you cut yours the same way, and I've also gone ahead to cut this part open a little. Remember I said we are coming down by what we have left at this point, so I notch it so that it will be easy to fold when it's time to fold it. So the next thing to do is to go ahead to fold the side of the chest effect using 0.5 inch. So when folding, you fold this part of the fabric, this part, and also this part here, but you will not be folding the lower part of the chest effect. So I'll go ahead to press it and fold it using 0.5 inch, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. So I've gone ahead to fold the 0.5 inch at this point. So this is what it's going to look like after folding. So the next thing we are going to be doing is to be creative on the lower part of the gown. You can decide to leave it this way, you can decide to do whatever design you want, but I'll be making a triangular shape on this lower part of the chest effect. So you just watch what I'm doing and try to do yours like that. First, you measure what you have at this point and divide it by 2. After dividing, then you fold it this way. After folding it, you go ahead to iron it. After folding and ironing it, this is what it should look like. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and sew the chest effect on the main fabric. So first you place it this way, arranging it, making sure that the neckline and the shoulder line align. After that, you go ahead to sew this part of the chest effect down to this point. you stop at this point. This part here will be left open. So I'll quickly go over my sewing machine and close up this part of the chest effect, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. After sewing, this is what it should look like. I've closed up this part, but this part here is left open. So the next thing to do is to join the front to the back and at the shoulder. So you're going to be placing your back of the gown to the front, making sure the good face is facing the good face, after which you close up the shoulder of the gown. So I'll quickly do that, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. So after joining the shoulder, this is what it should look like. I've gone ahead to turn into the good face and also giving it a good press. The next thing to do is to measure what we have on the neckline here. So I'm going to be measuring that. After measuring it, I have 27.5 inch. So here I have this long strip which I've already cut out and folded into two. The width of the strip is 4 inch, so after folding I have 2 inch on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead to attach the strip to the neckline this way. So just watch what I'm doing and follow suit. When placing the strip, you should not sew it on the chest effect. You lift it this way, then you place it. So I'm going to be pinning it round to the other side of the neckline so you see what it looks like after sewing. When you get to the edge of the neckline this way, you lift up the chest effect and try to sew it down to this point this way. So I'm going to go over my sewing machine and quickly do that, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. So I've gone ahead to close up to the neckline. I sewed from this part down to this part. So remember, we notched this part a little, so I sewed it down to where the neckline starts from at this point. So after doing this, the next thing we are going to be doing is to close up this part, and in doing that, you place the neckline this way, you turn it to the good face like this, and you do the same thing for the other part this way. Then you close up this part of the chest effect this way. So this is how you're going to do it, but first I'm going to be reducing the length of this strip I have here. After doing that, I'm going to be placing it this way. Then I'll place the chest effect on it, after which I'll go over my sewing machine to close up the open part we have. You can secure it with your pin before sewing so that it doesn't move while sewing. So I'll do that and come back to show you the next step. After sewing it, this is what it looks like. As you can see, it's looking very neat. So you take your time to sew it and try to sew on the edge of the chest effect. Next, we'll be closing up the sides of the gown we are making. But before then, you are going to be attaching a side pocket to the gown, and in doing that, the first thing to do is to measure 8 inch from your armhole. So I'm going to be measuring 8 inch from this point and mark. So after measuring the 8 inch, I'm going to be notching the 8 inch part here, and I'll be doing the same thing for the other side of the gown also. So I'm notching this part so that I will know where to start the pocket from. The pocket is going to be starting from this point. Here I have this piece cut out already, which will serve as the pocket. The width of the pocket I'm making is 8 inch, while the length of the pocket is as desired, but here I have 13 inch as the length of the pocket. So I'm going to be fixing it good side facing the good side. I'll be starting from the part where I notched, so I'll place it this way and sew out my sewing allowance. Then after sewing, we'll turn it over. This is what it's going to look like. Then I'll place the other one on the other parts of the fabric this way. Because you are placing the pocket on both sides, you place the other one on this part, making sure the good face is also facing the good face of the fabric, after which you close it up using your sewing allowance. So I'll quickly go over my sewing machine and do that, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. After fixing the pocket, this is what it should look like. I went ahead to sew my 1 inch sewing allowance, which I'll be using for the body also, and I did the same thing for the other part of the gown. The next thing we are going to be doing is to close up the sides of the gown, but before then I'll be hemming the sleeve opening of the gown and I'll also be hemming the length of the gown, that is the lower part of the gown, after which I'll start closing up the gown. And when closing up the gown, you start sewing from the armhole. You make sure that the sides align, the pocket also align. Then you start sewing from the armhole. You get to this point, you turn and start sewing this way down to this point. Then you close up the remaining parts of the gown. So I'll quickly go over my sewing machine and do that. After doing that, I'll give it a good press, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. So I've gone ahead to close up the side, and I've also given it a good press. So this is what it looks like after closing up the sides and ironing. And here we have the pocket of the gown. This is what the pocket of the gown look like. I've also done the same thing for the other side of the gown. So as you can see, it's looking very neat and it's looking beautiful. So here we have the final look of the gown, and it came out looking really nice. So you can also go ahead and try yours. So if this video was helpful to you, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you are yet to, and also don't forget to like and drop a comment. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next class.